All right, good morning and welcome to the FileCenter Customers Tips and Tricks webinar. For today, today is Wednesday, December 11th. My name is Kevin Anderson. I'm going to be your host and presenter today. Just going to go through, I'm really excited for these webinars that are going to be coming every single month. We'll be having these, and so we'll talk a little bit about that here in just a second. So today, what we're going to do, just to kind of do a couple little housekeeping items, we're just going to talk a little bit about the agenda. So we're going to cover a few housekeeping things, and then we're going to talk about the future tips and tricks webinars, and we're going to dive right into tips and tricks, and then we're going to have a Q&A session. So just for the purposes of housekeeping, just up in the top right hand corner of your screen, you're going to see a little place where you can type in questions that you might have. You'll be able to also raise hands if I'm asking you to do that. And so that's just a place where you can kind of interact with us here at FileCenter during the webinar. And so just I love being able to go in and just kind of understand where everybody's coming in from. So in that comment section or the Q&A section where you can type in the questions, if you'll just go ahead quickly just type in where you're from, and then that way we can kind of just see where everybody's coming in from today. I see we have a Salt Lake City, Puerto Rico, Denver, Colorado, Albany, New York, New Hampshire. We have San Diego. Awesome. Okay. Austin, Texas, Orlando, Florida, St. Paul, Minnesota. Well, you must be cold. It's got to be getting cold. If it's cold here in Utah, although we've had a little bit of a warm spell, so awesome. We have Germany and then England. Okay, awesome. Welcome. That's awesome. Love seeing people, our customers from around the world, hopping on. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we'll just get started here. Also, just with the housekeeping items, just so that you're aware, we are recording this, so there will be a replay that I will send out to everyone at the end of the webinar, and it usually just takes me about an hour, maybe an hour and a half or so, to get that up and running, and then get that uploaded to YouTube and sent out to everybody. So just keep an eye out for that. You'll be able to have that replay available to you. Number two housekeeping item here is that we have FileCenter version 11 that is out, and it is out there and available for everyone. If you have any questions or you're running into an issue there and you're not able to get that connected, there's going to be a contact information slide in our presentation today. If you want, you can just send me a quick email and you can ask me how to get that, and we can talk a little bit about that. But with FileCenter 11, there's some new things that are out there that are great. In fact, next month, at the very beginning of January, we'll be covering kind of in a webinar for customers that it's not going to be tips and tricks, but it will be covering what's new in FileCenter 11. So just kind of keep an eye on the webinar page on that. Which brings me to that next point. So to be able to get out, just so that you're aware, on our website, if you go out to FileCenterDMS.com, what you're going to be able to find out is right here under the support. You can actually come down where it says webinars, and on the webinars page, you will see lists of different webinars that are available for that month. And these are going to grow. There's going to be anywhere from probably 5 or 6 webinars every single month that will be hosted. And you'll be able to find them and register for those webinars right here. And so you can just make sure that you're able to get out there, check it periodically. I will typically have all of those all uploaded and ready for people to start registering at the very end of every single month. And then if I'm really proactive, there might be a couple months there. Okay, so but those webinars will be available and you'll be able to hop on there and watch them anytime you'd like. This is also where you're going to find some of the information about the webinars for the future tips and tricks webinars here as well. And you'll see those here in the topic. It will specify, that it is a customer webinar and that it is FileCenter tips and tricks. I typically only accept the people to attend the webinar that are customers. So you just have to, you're going to be registering essentially for that. You're going to put in your company name and things like that so that I can do a quick lookup and make sure that you're a customer and hopping on, because we just want to make sure that these are customer user based only. So that's just going to be available to you there. Okay. So with that, we'll go ahead and minimize that. One other thing on housekeeping, this is the last one, is social media. I know that not everyone is a Facebook user, and I totally get it. Our CEO says that he will go to his grave without ever having created a Facebook account, which is okay. That's fine. But that being said, if you are on Facebook, there are some Facebook pages that are out there that give really awesome information to help you out and understand some more. There'll be some tips and tricks that go out there. There's also some private Facebook groups that are available to our users. I know that some of you that are on here, just by looking at the list of names of attendees today, that some of you are already part of some of those groups. And so but we get out there and we post some information. You can ask questions. I have the Facebook pages that are up and running all day long on one of my screens so that I can monitor and see what's going on. So feel free to go ahead. If you are a Facebook user, go out there, like these pages, and then make sure, if you're not part of the private Facebook groups, that you can go ahead and join up. Anyone in your office can do that. I'm okay with that. That way it's not just one person, but everybody's benefiting from being able to ask questions and learn from other things that people are doing as they comment and things like that. Okay, so the next item here is just talking about the future tips and tricks webinars. So one of the things that we're going to do is so that you understand kind of the preface or the layout of how we're going to do these webinars, is that there's always going to be one big topic that we decide on here at FileCenter that we're going to cover. And then there will also be a way for you to submit. If you just send an email to our training email here at FileCenter, and I'll show that email address at the very end of the webinar. But this will be an email that you can send any topics that you would like to have covered during a tips and tricks webinar. And then that way we can kind of showcase that. If you do it before the webinar, usually we want you to have that a couple, maybe a week or so before the webinar actually starts or begins, and we'll be able to have all those things queued up. We'll usually cover around 2 or 3 of those different questions or topics that you would like to have covered as well, unless they're a really big topic. And then we'll make sure that that's one of those showcase topics that we're covering during the tips and tricks webinars. But this is really for you guys, for you and your whole staff. So feel free, invite everyone in your office that might want to attend. They can come out, register, and on top of that, if you cannot attend, just register anyways. That way, when the webinar is over, we'll send out the replays and you can just watch it on demand. But we won't know that you want to see it unless you actually go out there and register for it. Okay, so that being said, let's just dive right into the whole reason why we're all here, and that is to learn and get some information on some tips and tricks of using the FileCenter software. Now, so there's really going to be 2 main topics that we're going to talk about today, just because we didn't get any responses in time for being able to cover some of those and have some information ready. And the 2 topics that we're going to talk about, well, I'm thinking of a third one right now that I'll cover. The first one will be how to use Microsoft Outlook with FileCenter. And so we're going to cover that. The second one is going to be how to go in and create and apply templates in a mass setting. And then the third one, and this is going to be our really the bigger topic, is Microsoft OneDrive and how to utilize that with FileCenter. So those are our three main areas that we're going to cover today. And so let's just go ahead and we're going to hop right over into FileCenter. So the very first one that we're going to talk about is how to work with FileCenter and Outlook. There are some programs that are out there that have little special icons that are inside of your Outlook. So if I were to come over here and show you my Outlook here, you might have an icon that might show up with there's different programs that are out there that do that. The one thing about these particular add-on features with Microsoft is that many times if Microsoft makes a change, it breaks. And so one of the things, we do have that feature that is available for you. If you come right up here into settings, so we'll open up our settings, and then over on the left-hand menu, there's an icon or a menu item that's called Outlook. And there's two things here. So you have the Enable Outlook add-on integration, and that's what would bring in that that little button inside of the program. So if we came back here and my Outlook is kind of running a little slow today. Sorry about that. If you were to check that box, you would actually find that there's an add-on feature for our Outlook. But again, I mentioned before that if Microsoft ever changes anything, and it could break that, and then there's always a lot of frustration there because then we even have to go out and find a way to fix the issue because Microsoft never tells us what exactly they did. So that being said, one of my favorite ways of doing my Outlook integration, and I personally think that it's a better way to do it anyways, is actually coming in and we just check this box where it says Enable Outlook Drag and Drop into Files View. What I like about this is once you check that box, we're just going to go ahead and create a new drawer here, and we'll just call this Correspondence. And so we have this new correspondence folder. And then if I come in and I have my Outlook here, I can easily just come in and grab all the emails that are here that I can highlight. And then I can just drag and drop right over into my file view. And what you're going to see is this going to come up and it's going to pop up a little window and it's going to ask you, a couple questions essentially. You can come in, you're going to see up here in the top left section of this window is all of your emails. You can even come in here and let's say, for instance, you've got this SMB needs simple, strong, and security as your title. I can actually come in just immediately here and rename that. So I can just call this, in this case, this is junk mail. So I'm just going to call it junk mail. And so you can come in and edit the subject line of that email so that you can come in and understand exactly what that is. So if your customer or your client is not as specific in the subject line that you would like to see, and you can actually come in here and rename that. If in any case that these emails that you are dragging and dropping into the system have any kind of attachment, you can even come in and check boxes where it allows you to save the attachment separately or remove attachments from the email. And so there's some options here that you're able to have a lot more power behind. And then once you're done, you just click Save Copy. And then inside of FileCenter, you're going to see those emails actually show up. One of the nice parts about this too, and what your IT professionals will really love, is then you can come right back into the Outlook. I can right click on that, on all those messages, and just delete those. And those emails still reside right here inside of FileCenter. If I come in and I double click on that message, what that's going to do is it's going to open up right in my Outlook. I can still reply to that. I can forward it. I can and I can go ahead and read that anytime I need to, and it's always going to be an Outlook message file. Now this feature is similar in the sense that you can do some dragging and dropping from other installed based programs, but not necessarily like a web-based program like Gmail. It doesn't work that way. Gmail doesn't have that same kind of interface that a installed email management software solution provides. So, okay, so that is our very first one. That was the one that I thought of just as we were talking today, right at the very beginning of our webinar. And so If there's any questions on that, again, just up in the top right-hand corner, you can go ahead and type any questions that you have in regards to any of the topics that we're covering, as well as anything else that you might want to ask throughout the webinar. So, okay, second item is going to be actually how to apply a template across all of my drawers in a mass setting. So many people that are on here today are actually, I can see, that are accountants or bookkeepers. I do see other people that are on here too that are not bookkeepers and accountants, but this will be very useful as well, just in case you need to understand how to do this by year. Okay, and so what you're going to be able to see here is that you're going to be able to come into a drawer. If you right click on a drawer, you can actually come in and apply a folder template. And those folder templates, those are templates that you may have created, and you'll be able to come in and see each one of those templates that you might have available. And you can come in and you can apply that template right here inside of that drawer. Now, that's a one-off basis. Now, what if you wanted to come in and you wanted to create a new a template and apply it to every single drawer all at the same time? The way that you would do that is you can come right up here. I'm just going to click on my tax clients just for this example here. And you can see that we do things by year. Inside, you might have folder structures that are there and available. And so this is just a way that you can come in and look at this, right? And have consistency for the years that you do work. So how do you go in and apply that? If you come right up here to where it says cabinets, you're going to come down to where it says tasks. And under tasks, there's going to be an apply folder template to all drawers. When you come in, this window is going to open up for us. We're going to be able to see that here's a folder structure that we, that we might have. We can come in, we can see all these different templates. Again, same templates that you're seeing when you come in and right-click and apply a template on a drawer. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to add a brand new one. We're going to call this 2022 tax template. And then we're going to come in and we'll add our 2022 folder, and then we'll go ahead and we can add additional folders here as needed. So I accidentally forgot that I didn't click on the add child, I just clicked on add. But if you wanted to add a subfolder to any of these folders, you just come in, you click on that 2022 folder, and then just click on add child, and it'll put it at the right level. And so at this point, we're going to go ahead and we'll say correspondence here. Just got to spell it right. Okay, and then now these folders are now created for me. And you can make this as obviously as extensive as you need it to be. Now, in this case, we're just going to go ahead and click OK. And now that template is now available for me. And so once I click on that file, the template itself, all I need to do is come in and click here on apply. It'll ask you if you are certain that you want to do that. You're just going to go ahead and click on yes. And then I have 38 drawers, and it just finished. It rips right through that and applies every single template to every single drawer. So now when we come into that Abe and Mary Lincoln, we see a 2022, and then the correspondence tax. If we come to Donald Duck, we see the same thing. Here's the 2022 correspondence tax, and it goes in there. And this will just allow you to quickly go in and apply templates to the whole cabinet all at once. So many times when you're dealing with vendors, for instance, so maybe you're not a bookkeeper, you're not a tax preparer or anything like that, but you have vendors, you keep track of invoices, things like that. You may want to come in and apply a new 2020 folder to every single vendor so that you can keep track of everything. And that might be, again, instead of the tax folder, it might be an invoice folder, and then still a correspondence folder that you can store correspondence for that vendor. You can easily go in and apply all of those all at the same time. You probably have hundreds of vendors in some cases, and so this is just one way of being able to go in and manage it and not have to go into each individual drawer and apply a template individually. Okay. So hopefully that will help you out. If you have questions on that, or you have questions in general about templates because you don't have them, you'll be able to reach out to us. Our training email, you'll be able to send that to us. Okay, with any questions that you might have. Okay, so the last topic that we have planned for today, I see some questions that are coming in, so we'll address those as we go through the Q&A session. But the last topic is going to be about Microsoft OneDrive. Now, just really quickly, by a show of clicking on the hand icon in the top right-hand corner, how many of you use, oh, Murray, you're jumping the gun here. You didn't even hear the question yet. That's awesome. Okay, so how many of you use Office 365? And if you'll just click on that little hand, okay, so we got a few people. Office 365, that's like the latest and greatest of Microsoft Office products. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. There's only two of you that are raising your hands. That can't be right. Okay, here's more. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. There's more of you. Okay. Okay, so with Microsoft Office 365, if you are paying for a business account, which is typically about $8, a little over $8, I believe, for the business account, it actually will come with 1 terabyte of data per person, per login that you have uh, to the table. 1 terabyte of data in Microsoft OneDrive. Okay. Now, what that means for you is it allows you to store stuff locally, your data locally on your station, on your workstation, but also it syncs to the cloud. So, like in our office, every single person has an account with Microsoft Office 365, and so each person brings 1 terabyte. We have about 25 terabytes of data that we can actually utilize in the cloud for Microsoft. What this does for us is that it just allows us to have quick and easy access in certain areas, meaning the sense that so Microsoft OneDrive has apps for a phone or a tablet. And so for me, I have the ability to quickly go on to my iPhone or my tablet and be able to go in and look at all of my files that are there and locally stored with the Microsoft OneDrive because it stores it on my computer as well as syncing it up to the cloud. Now, what I like about this is that when we come here, there we go, wasn't catching there. So in Microsoft OneDrive, what you're going to see is you're going to have a SkyDrive right here. I like to call these SkyDrives. So OneDrive, Dropbox, and Google Drive. And this doesn't have to be just OneDrive. This could be a Google Drive. This could be a Dropbox. This could be there's other applications that are out there that provide this. As long as the file structure can be seen locally on your machine, it'll work. Okay. So I do see a question that came in from Arthur. Instead of OneDrive, can you link it with Google Drive? And yes. Now, this being said, I am going to preface this that Microsoft OneDrive is my preference. If I have to choose between any of these programs, it's going to be Microsoft OneDrive. And the reason why is that Dropbox for me, I've seen that they've had multiple data breaches, and so I don't feel comfortable with that. And then number two, and obviously that's been in the past. I don't know what their situation is these days, but that in the past is enough for me. And so the second one, Google Drive, I've always had some issues with syncing, where the data syncs from the desktop to the online platform and vice versa. So I've always had some issues there, and that might not be everybody. That's just me. Like I've had problems there. Microsoft OneDrive, I have never had a problem with any of the syncing capabilities. And so it just makes it so that for me, I just utilize that, especially because I don't have to pay anything extra. I pay for a Microsoft Office 365 account, and because of that, I have access to that. Some people use the Google G Suite, and so with G Suite, you're getting the Google Drive also available to you, just like the Office 365. So just depending on how you're doing that, that's where you could look at. Okay. So I'm going to be talking more in the sense of OneDrive, but everything should be very similar in the sense of whether you're using OneDrive, Google Drive, or Dropbox, or some of those other Sky platforms. Okay. So the way that I come in and I use my Microsoft OneDrive with FileCenter is that in OneDrive, you'll see all of these different folders that are available. Every single one of these folders is going to represent a file cabinet in my system. Now, this is just the way that I do it. This is my best practices behind this. You could go in and be a little bit more specific, where you could just have a company, and then inside of the company, if you wanted to have departments in there that have their own setup, then you could do it that way too. But for me, what works best is I come in and I have a folder that is for a company, and that represents my file cabinet. So for instance, here's my Lucian file cabinet, the folder structure that's out on my Microsoft OneDrive. And so you can come in and you can see the folder structure that is available. I'm just going to turn off this preview pane here, and you can see all of the folders that are available. You can also see what the status is. I don't have it so that every single one of my um, drawers or folders inside of my OneDrive, I don't have it so that every single one of them sync automatically. I just don't need it locally on my machine in some cases. And so when you see this little cloud icon, it just means that it's cloud-based. It's not on your computer. Now, any of the ones that are on your computer, you're going to see a little green circle with a check mark inside. And then if you see this one here where it has kind of a cycle icon, this one is just saying that it's syncing at this time. So there's data that's actually going either up or down onto the cloud platform. Okay. So this is my Lucian folder. And so if I come inside of my file center, I actually have that same one here. So what you're doing when you're setting this up, you're just going to name your file cabinet, and then you're just going to come in and you're going to put the location of where that folder is actually residing on your machine. And so that just points directly to my OneDrive account and to my Lucian folder. Now, one cool thing about OneDrive is that, so for me, for instance, my main C drive does not have a whole lot of data storage. If you actually come in and look at this, you can see that I have only, it's like 128 gigabytes of storage space on there. And so if I were to have that pointing to my C drive, it would just kill me. It would just fill up my hard drive really fast. But I do have another hard drive that I have lots more data storage, and so what I do is I come in and I point on my data drive is where my OneDrive folder is actually pointed. And so I can easily come in here and then double click, and everything that you saw here in my quick access side panel on my system, you'll see here as well inside of my D drive. And so this is all things that that is available to me, and I just have that all locally being synced to my D drive. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. If you have questions, go ahead, just type those into the question box there. There is one more icon that when you're looking inside of the Microsoft Office product that you can see if you've shared it. So these three folders here, you can actually see that I have shared it by this little person icon that's right next to the cloud, and then there's one down here as well. So those are some things that you can kind of just understand a little bit when you're looking at a Windows folder structure. So now when we come in here, I can actually switch my cabinet here to the Lucian one, the Lucian cabinet. And so everything that you see here, we see here. Okay, so in this case, we're going to just click on Lucian. So you're going to see BBC, Ben, channel program, consulting, customers, everything that you see here in this Windows folder structure is over here as a drawer inside of my FileCenter software. And this just allows me to easily come in, manage everything just like normal, just like if you were setting everything up in a Windows folder structure. But the biggest difference is again, like I mentioned, this is now synced directly to the cloud, as well as being able to have it on your app, like an app on your phone or tablet. Okay. So that just makes it even just that much more powerful. Again, when you're coming in here, let's just come into like resellers, for instance. If I were to come in to my system here, we're going to come in, we'll just make sure that we're just clicked on resellers. You can see that there's these files that are available there, and I'm just going to come in and just quickly copy a file from my desktop, and I'm going to plug that right in here. And you can kind of watch here on the file window how real time this can be. So if I come in and I paste that file in here, you can see immediately it shows up there. It's basically immediate. Okay, and so it just makes it so that now you're going to find that little checkbox is already there. It's already checked, meaning that it's already available. So if I copy another file, let's post that in, you'll see that it will come in, and it was almost immediate. I mean, it's immediately synced as well. You can see it's already got the green icon. So not only did it automatically show up inside of my file center, but it also went up to the cloud just as fast. And so it just makes it really powerful. Okay. Now, on top of that, one of the things that I really like is that if you're using the Microsoft Office if you're using FileCenter and you're using the receipts module here, so you can see on receipts, I might have a receipt box, and I'm not going to go into detail here on this, but one of the things that I have is I actually have an inbox where I have it synced up to my OneDrive. And so what you're going to see here is all of the receipts that are in my OneDrive folder. And what you'll see here is that I have taken a picture of my receipt here, and I took a picture with my phone, and it automatically uploads and puts it right into my FileCenter inbox for my receipts. So this is just another reason why I really like the Microsoft Office product of OneDrive, because it allows me to quickly add files and bring them directly in here without being able to have to scan something or anything like that. I can be out there on the road, take a picture of a receipt, throw the receipt away, and have it available inside of my file center when I get back to my office. Okay, so hopefully that kind of makes sense. It might be a little bit of a, this one here might be a little confusing just because if you're not familiar with the receipts program, but the fact of the matter is it just makes it more powerful. Okay, and I'll leave it at that. And we'll talk more about FileCenter receipts in future tips and tricks webinars. But this is kind of just another area where you can utilize the Microsoft, the OneDrive, to be able to work in conjunction with your FileCenter software. Okay, so with that, one of the things we're going to do here is I'm going to be opening this up here to Q&A here really fast because we're kind of wrapping up on this OneDrive side. But I want you to understand that when this works in your favor is some of the things that has happened to me in the past. So my laptop, I had a hard drive failure, and this was about 2 years ago. And when that happened, I basically lost my whole hard drive. Now, Lenovo sent me a brand new hard drive, and what I did is I just got my operating system on, and the very first thing that I did is I got all of my Office products on there, and then I synced into my Microsoft OneDrive account. So I just went ahead and signed into OneDrive, and then essentially what happened is that all of my data synced directly back onto my computer. Now, if you're a technical person, this is not necessarily, I'm not telling you that this is a suitable backup solution, but it is a great method of doing some sort of backup, a method of backup, because it does allow you to come in and again sync data back and forth, and it does help quite a bit. Okay, but that was one of the big benefits to me. But on top of that, when I am out on the road, I am able to do that. The other benefit that I look at is that I can go in and I have 3 computers. that I have access to, and technically, if you want to count my wife's computer, I have 4. And so I have my laptop here at the office. I have a laptop at home. I have another desktop here in my computer that acts as a server where I do some consulting work on. And then I have my wife's computer. And she has access to our personal folder that is on Microsoft OneDrive. And if I come in and I store anything into that, it automatically syncs to her computer. So again, for an office type setting, this is a very good point here, is that whatever you do on one computer, if that same folder is available to the other person or other computer, then you are able to then have it automatically sync and it's there. So if I don't want to bring my work laptop home for the day, then I can go ahead and utilize that OneDrive, and I store the file up into the OneDrive. And when I get home, my home computer has that file. My desktop has it here in the office that's right behind me, so that I don't have to like transfer files or anything like that. It's automatic. I use OneDrive for all of my important file cabinets inside of FileCenter. And that way everything is just syncing back and forth and I don't have to worry about that. Now, on some of those computers, what you'll see is some of those files won't have downloaded onto that computer yet. They will just be available to you. You'll see them. They'll be cloud only in that sense. But the moment that you click on that file inside of FileCenter, it'll download it and bring it right onto the computer so that it's also locally stored. So sometimes you might see a one or 2 second delay before you see the preview of that file, just because it downloads it first. Okay, and depending on how big it is, it might take a little bit longer. Okay, I know that I'm this big proponent of Microsoft OneDrive, and you can probably tell from that. I do help a lot of people get all set up with their OneDrive. If you have questions on that, please feel free to reach out to me about that, and I can answer any questions that you might have. If you're using Google Drive or Dropbox, again, I'm familiar enough with each of those programs that I can help you with those as well. But me personally, I find that we're already paying for an Office 365 account. So we get OneDrive for no additional cost, and I get 1 terabyte of storage. And so it just helps me out. But if you're using G Suite and you're getting the OneDrive, or you're paying for Dropbox or anything like that, it makes it so that that is available. All right, so now with that, let's go ahead. We're gonna pop up our slide deck here again real quick. We'll go ahead and do a Q&A session. And while we're doing the Q&A, I'm just going to go ahead and just pop this up. Again, if you joined in after we got started, my name is Kevin Anderson, and the way that you can answer any questions that you might have is you can go ahead and send an email to training@FileCenterDMS.com. That will come directly to me and my team. We'll be able to answer any questions that you might have around training. If it falls into like a support case or anything like that, we'll recommend that you go to support at FileCenterDMS.com, so that way it gets created, a case gets created, and you get taken care of that way. If it's consulting related, we'll approach that at that point too. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up on the screen, but we're now in the Q&A session. So if you have any questions about any topic that we've talked about with Microsoft Outlook integration, with applying templates across all of your cabinet, or the Microsoft OneDrive or SkyDrives, feel free. You can reach out. Just start typing those in. So I'm going to go ahead, just quickly look at those, and I am going to also pop up one other screen here that I'll cover just so that it'll help you out. Okay. So one of the questions here is, are you concerned about security when putting important files on OneDrive or any other cloud drive? So my only concern has always been inside of Dropbox. I haven't heard of any data breaches at this point in regards to Google Drive or OneDrive. Microsoft has got some pretty good encryption levels that are out there. I know that most of the SkyDrives are at least 128-bit encryption. Um, what they sit when the files are sitting there on their server, I'm not really sure what that encryption level is, but my guess is most companies like Amazon and things like that have a 448-bit encryption level, which is incredible, so that things are sitting there and they're encrypted, and so you're the only one that has access to that. So I feel really comfortable with that. That's just me personally, though, and but hopefully that answers your question. I feel incredibly good about the security of Microsoft OneDrive. So they're constantly going in and trying to update that. There's a question here of what versions of Outlook does FileCenter DMS support? So typically, when you're coming in, let's just pop up the settings here again. If you look here, I believe that it needs to be at least Office version 12 or higher. Um, Mine, you can see that mine is Outlook version 16. That's the latest version of Microsoft Outlook. But if I remember right, we had somebody that was using an older Outlook 2010, and that did not work. And it did say on the screen that it needed to be at least an Office or an Outlook version 12 or higher. So that would be my response on that. So, but if you're current on and you're paying for an Office 365 account, the Outlook should automatically update every single time that they come out with an update, so you should always be on the latest version. So hopefully that helps. Okay, so will this work with something like Thunderbird? I believe so. Herschel, if you'll just clarify for me, because I'm not familiar with Thunderbird, but is Thunderbird an application, an Outlook, or like an email application that's installed on the computer? Yeah. So it, yes, it is. Okay, great. If that is the case, then yes, you should be able to drag and drop an email from that program over. Um, I'm not familiar enough with it, though. I haven't seen Thunderbird, but most of the time, if you're using an email application software that's installed on the system, that should allow you to go ahead and drag files back and forth, or and drag and drop. So if you end up finding something different in that case, Herschel, if you would be so kind as to just let me know, you can get on the Facebook DMS page and let me know there. That way I have an understanding, and I can get that clued in on my side here and let everybody else know. So that's great. Good question. Another question here is, how do you share file center cabinets across multiple computers without using cloud services? Um, so if you're on the same network, um, what you're able to do there, let's just open up if you're on the same network, the way that that typically works is you would right click on a folder that you want to share with everybody. You'll right click on it and you'll go down to where it says give access to. You can also just come into properties. This is where I typically go to, is I just come down to properties and then I'll come to sharing. And then you just click this share on the network path. And once you do that, that folder should then be available to you, all the people. So, and then at that stage, so let's go ahead and I'll share this. Okay, that file is now shared. You can see the network path there. And so you can go ahead and you can copy that path. And when you go on to the next computer, you can go ahead and in that network, you can go ahead and save that or paste it. Typically, what I would do at that stage is I would come in at that stage and I would right click on the file, or even come up here to, let's see, I think it's under home. Where was that? Oh, I think I know where it is. So if you come here to this PC, and then you come here to, yeah, did Microsoft change it up on me here? Oh, it never switched to this PC. That's why. So on the computer here, when you click on this PC, and you'll see this map network drive. The way that I would do that is I would come here to the map network drive. Let me drag this up here. You would select a drive letter, and you want the same drive letter on every computer. But so you just select whichever drive you want. So you can see that we have a lot of these map network drives here in our office. But if I selected the Z drive, then I could come in here and then just, if I copied that link that the folder gave me, I can come in here and I can paste that folder or that link into that window. And then all I have to do is click here on finish. And then what's going to happen is then down here below, go ahead and close that window. Down here below, you're going to see this new map drive that is going to be on this computer, and that's going to directly link to that folder that is out there, and you can then set up all your cabinets. So the way that I typically do that is I would create a folder that I want to share on my computer, and I might call that like FileCenter Cabinets. And then I would share that folder, and then everything there would be in the map network drive. So hopefully that helps you out, Bob, with that question. If you have more questions on that, then let me know. But at that stage, see, then you're able to come up here, click on cabinets. You click add. You could name your cabinet. And then when you come in here to browse for your cabinet, you would just come to this PC on every computer, and then you just drop down to where it has that map drive. Click OK. Click OK again. We'll close this. And then at the very bottom of my file cabinet list will be my webinar test cabinet that we just created, and all of my data is there. Okay. Good question. That's an awesome one, actually. I love that. That was a great one. We do that a lot for people. So some people will actually pay for that as a setup service that we'll do for people. So good question. Okay. Can I sync your web test folder to the cloud? Oh, like this webinar test folder. Like if I wanted this to the cloud, I would need to go ahead and take that file folder and put that to the cloud, and then sync that. That's the way that I would typically do that in my case. You could also look at that. I'm going to go ahead and just disconnect this one here. Let's look at that 1 second here from this standpoint. So documents, here's that file center. If you wanted to, like so with Google Drive, you can actually come in with the Google Drive and you can actually click sync this folder. If it's my OneDrive, I'm going to typically go in and just have that and copy that over to my OneDrive folder if I want that to be syncing to the cloud. But if you're using Google Drive has an additional feature there that does allow you to come in and sync this folder, and it just adds that. So I believe, Arthur, you said earlier that you use probably Google Drive, it sounded like. So that would probably be the way that you would do that. Okay. So with this, we're going to start wrapping up here. I'll let you add any other questions that you might have, but I'm going to quickly just bring one more thing up. One of the things that we have on our website is you actually have a down at the very bottom in the footer, you'll actually see a blog. And I will be the first to admit that we have not kept up very well on the blog. It's been a couple years, 3 years, a little over 3 years since we put a blog post out. And that's going to be changing here in 2020 as well. That's one of my big goals that I have, is put some more content out there for it. But one of the things that you can do is you can actually come out here and you can search for OneDrive. And if you come out and do a search for OneDrive, it's going to actually take you to an article that I wrote for cabinets using OneDrive or Dropbox. And so it'll come through, help you understand cabinet structures, how to set up your cabinets, and then utilizing those things with a cloud cabinet. And so that's one area that you can come out and you can look at as a reference point. We're going to add additional content out there all the time. We'll put that out on the social media pages as well. So if you have any questions there, you can always go out to the social media platforms and be able to have access to that as well. So hopefully that helps there. With that, I'm going to just bring this screen back up here real fast so that my contact information is out there. I want to say thanks for everyone that's coming, has come to the webinar today. And what we're going to do is next month, at the very beginning of the month, I usually am going to be striving to have this to be the very first week of every single month will be our tips and tricks webinar. So usually the very first Wednesday that we'll have those webinars for the tips and tricks. And again, if you have questions or you want to have a particular topic covered, if you just send that into the training at FileCenter DMS email, we'll make sure to go ahead and put that on the list, and we'll go ahead and hone that in. Again, there will be typically one big topic that we want to address that will typically be something that's maybe a commonly asked question that we've received during the month or something like that, so that we can educate people better on how to utilize the program in that sense. So that'll be there, and then we'll typically pick another 2 or 3 topics that a customer has sent in or customers have sent in, and we'll address those as well. But then we'll have the Q&A session as well that you can come in and answer or ask any questions and get some answers to those questions. So with that, we're going to go ahead and we will go ahead and finish up here. In the chat window, though, one thing that you're going to be able to do, if you would like, I would love to connect with everyone on LinkedIn. And so if you are on LinkedIn, one of the things that you can do is you're going to see in the little chat window where people have been asking questions, you'll now see a little link there that will take you right out to my LinkedIn profile, and you can go ahead and connect with me there. This is another way, another option of ways to connect with me and ask questions or anything like that. I like to just try and make myself available on as many platforms as I possibly can so that people can ask questions and utilize all the resources that you possibly can. So with that, we're going to go ahead. We'll wrap up. Again, thanks for getting connected with me here today on the webinar, and I'll look forward to catching you on future webinars and hope to see you on either one of our social media platforms or here on webinars. We'll look forward to talking with you guys soon, and with that, we'll go ahead and sign out. Have a great day.